Today we do have a special opportunity to recognize someone who has made a significant contribution to the design, implementation, or analysis of public utility regulatory policy. The Crystal Award has been given since 2013, so I guess technically this is our 10th award. We solicit nominations from across the country. They will open up after the first of the year, so I invite you to be thinking about who you would like to nominate. And the award is sponsored this year by the Natural Resources Defense Council. The sponsor helps us to facilitate the cost of the award itself, and the accommodations for the awardee. Ashok Gupta, who asked a question earlier, is here representing NRDC, and we thank them very much for participating and supporting the award this year. So I'm going to invite Jim Jenkins up to make the formal presentation.
Butch, I couldn't be any more pleased to be able to present the 2022 Crystal Award winner to such a deserving candidate. I mean, just what Butch has put into the regulatory community is just outstanding. If you think about it, what's FRI and this award about? What it's about is somebody that's made a significant contribution to the regulatory community. And Butch fits that mold. And I know, many of us know Butch, but there's also a big group of people out here that don't know Butch. And I want to reflect on that just a little bit. Butch has been with the South Carolina Commission for 16 years. He just retired in 2020. And, in that role as a public servant, he was a chair, the vice chair, a commissioner, and just providing so much support for that community. But also, he reached out and provided so much support on the NARUC side of things. And in fact, the first time I was able to learn about Butch and work with Butch and get to know him was through the Water Committee. In American Water, we don't have a operation in South Carolina, but Butch always asked great questions. And it wasn't very long before I said, boy, there's a lot more about this guy than his Southern accent and his ability to understand him, because he really is just a great person. And if you think about it, what stood out, because he's in so many NARUC events. I mean, he was the chair of this NARUC Education and Outreach Community. He was the active in this new commissioner orientation program. And then also, where I really, worked a lot with him was active at NARUC Rate School. And then many other things. There's just so many things that he was active on. But what was the theme? What's it about this person, and the theme about him is he was willing to put others ahead of himself. Let's think about that. It was always about finding a form of neutrality and really wanting to make sure all voices were heard and everything was taught. And that's a big part of what FRI is about, and it's a big part of what Butch is about, and that's why he's just so deserving of this award. And I certainly got to see him at Rate School, there and working, Commissioner Holden, who makes, she was certainly involved. But I got to see Butch herd all us cats together. I mean, from industry to consumer advocates to regulators to commissioners. And he was just always there with a voice of reason, wanting to make sure that we were doing the right things for the students, which ultimately is the right thing for the customers, and making sure all voices are heard. And he was definitely there. I think what I'd like to do now, I asked Tricia, because I can speak to it from an industry perspective, but I wanted somebody to speak a little bit about Butch from a commissioner's perspective, and Tricia volunteered to make a few comments.
I promise to keep these short and clean, Butch. To know Butch Howard is to love Butch Howard. And to know Butch Howard is to also know his wife, Pat, and love Pat as well. It's just such an honor to honor Butch. As a new commissioner, when I came in nearly 5 years ago, Butch immediately impressed upon me that he would help me. I didn't know anything about any of this. I didn't even know where the damn bathrooms were. I mean, I was completely clueless. And Butch was just there, and he just helped repeatedly. He would answer questions for me. He didn't mind answering a text. He didn't mind if I asked a question that was the dumbest thing that he's probably answered 20 times before. And what I've come to learn after these years of service as a commissioner is that I'm not the only one that Butch has done this for. There's an entire generation of regulators in our industry that have relied faithfully on Butch's counsel, on his winning attitude, and his encouragement. And so if you're a new commissioner just starting, or if you've been here a couple of years, you know, even when Butch retired, he doesn't mind if I pick up the phone and call him and ask him those stupid questions all over again. And so I'm just so grateful, and I'm thankful to also represent other commissioners that Butch has helped out along the years. And so I won't gush, but you know I love you. And you know I love you too, Pat. So thank you. Congratulations.
Love you. Can we get a picture together with the award, and then we'll have you give a word?
Yeah. Let me turn it around, don't drop it. Oh, God, no. Oh, God, what did I say? I mean, I appreciate the award, obviously, and I want to thank the NRDC for sponsoring the award. I want to thank them for the job they do in protecting our national environment. Some of us might have some issues with how they do things, but the bottom line is they're doing the right thing, protecting our national resources. Then FRI. You know, you think about these things, how I got with FRI. True story. It also shows that I have no pride when I tell this story. I'm at a neighborhood thing. I'm wandering around on a break, late in the afternoon. I see the sign saying FRI. You know, to me, that's Friday. And to me, Friday is happy hour. And to me, Friday is thank God it's Friday. So I said, what the hell is this Friday thing? Late in the afternoon, I go over and get me a scotch and water and then go back into the meeting. So I go to FRI. There's no scotch, no bourbon. There's all these brochures laid out on the table, and two of the most enthusiastic people I've ever met in my life, Sarah and Lucas. And I'm thinking, what the hell is all this? So she started telling me about FRI. And I said, well, that's interesting. And she invites me to come to FRI. Little did I know the impact it would have on me as a professional regulator. Now, move on in a little bit, and I get this mental picture of Sarah at a water fountain just walking around the office of the FRI, and she runs into Cheryl. See, Cheryl, I'm got to tell you something. She said, I'm getting the hell out of here. I'm tired of putting that fellow from South Carolina that I can't understand what the hell he's saying. I'm out of here. You got the Butch baton. So Cheryl took over, and no demolish whatsoever, no diminution in the efficiency and the professionalism they showed. So FRI is very special to me. Thank you, Mike, for the job you're doing. Next in my thank you comes the who pays the bill? Who pays the bill is the consumer. And we talked to Chris, we heard Chris talk, and other consumer advocates. So part of this award goes to the consumer that pays the bill. The second part of the equation is the industry. Neither one of us, none of us in this room would have a job if it wasn't for the industry. There's only probably one entity that gets beat up more than the commissioners is the industry. But we'd be in a hell of a mess without our industry and the job they do, and I appreciate everything they do. Part of this award belongs to the industry. Oh, now the next part, not the last, but the next part, and give you a little background. In South Carolina, we have very strict regulations. We can't deal with the utilities. We can't talk to the consumer advocates. We're in this little area. So the next part are my buddies. And the only people I can play with are my buddies or commissioners and former commissioners. So we have a strong bond between the commissioners, particularly in South Carolina, because we can't do anything else. So a part of this award goes to my commissioner friends and former commissioners. And then Pat. Pat plays an important part. Thank you, love. Now, with all this being said, this board belongs to each of you. And so what I'd like to do is I'll use Judy as an example. When Judy says, somebody says, where you from? Judy will say, I'm from Virginia. But a part of me is in Pat and Butch South in Charleston. Thank you much.
So Butch alluded to this, but he was on the FRI Advisory Board for a period of time, which makes this an especially special honor for us to be able to honor him and all that he has done for the education of the industry. And we are just happy to be part of that. Thank you.